Honourable members, good morning. Once again, good morning to the entire delegation from the department and the ADA, led by the HOD. Good morning to the support staff led by the cluster manager. I think we should start our meeting. We are aware that the MEC has apologized. She phoned me yesterday and we discussed and we agreed that she can continue with her commitment. That's the reminder. And good morning to the chairperson of the board. I think we'll have good engagement, but let me clarify this HOD so that in future you'll know. There is a new way of reporting now. As the committee, we have now been instructed that we need to name and shame departments that are submitting reports late. So we know that you submitted the reports in time, but there was a problem with the ADA. We got the report, it was changed, it was again changed. In fact, we got 3 reports. We are therefore going to use the first report because the 2 came very late. We want, the 2 that was trying to correct the first report. We know why it happened because, the first report was not talking to, what is in the report of the department. It was contradicting the report of the department. Excuse me. So we just want to indicate that based on the fact that the 2 reports that we're trying to correct came late, we want, entertain them. We'll use the first report. But you'll see when you are presenting that where the problem is. I just wanted to clarify that, so that in future we try and submit correct reports and submit them on time. It's the first time that you are doing this. We were not going to raise it, but because now we have been instructed to do that, I'll have to raise it so that it gets minuted. Then let's then move. I wanted to clarify that. Then move to our next agenda item, which is apologies. Mrs. Boof. Oh, Ma'am Boof.
Good morning, honorable members and colleagues. I received 2 apologies, one from Honorable Twala and another apology from our senior legal advisor. Thank you.
The third one is the apology of the MAC. Thank you very much. Can you then move to our next agenda item, which is 1.3, constitution of the meeting, cluster manager.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members. Good morning to the colleagues of the department as well as the legislature staff. Honorable Chairperson, the meeting is correct. It is correct because we have 7 members that are in attendance physically, and we have 2 honorable members on the platform. That is Honorable Amini as well as Honorable Mgati, whom I can see. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, cluster manager. Then let's move to 1.4, the adoption of the agenda. We've already indicated that there is an apology from the MEC. So we want to deal with 1.5. Any proposal? Honorable Simon.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to you and greeting also to the head of department and officials, members. I propose the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Simon. Second, Honorable Richard.
Good morning, Chair, colleagues and department. I move for the second the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Richard. The agenda has been moved and seconded. Then let's go straight to item 2. We'll then hand over to the HOD to deal with item 2.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, I would like to tender my greetings to all of you. And as Honorable Chair has indicated, Honorable MEC has apologized. She is attending the Minister for Rural Development at Dumbe. We once have a summit on rural development, so there is a lot of matters that require us to work together as a Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. Hence, he tendered her apology. Honorable members and the chairperson, we will then table the report as on the agenda. With me, I have chairperson from OADA, who is leading the team from OADA. I will then hand over to the chairperson for the presentation of the first report, which is OADA. Oh no, we're starting with the department. So we will then, I will hand to Usidim Kize and for non-performance report, and hand over to Mrs. Msomi, or CFO, for a financial report. Chairperson, we note the remarks, opening remarks with regard to late submission, and the reports that we are going to allow us to present. We really apologize, profusely apologize for that. We will monitor that going forward. So I will then hand over to the team. Thank you.
Greetings, Honorable Chair, honorable members, the HOD, Babsomkhanda Uhlalo, Bonkoza kwethu in the meeting. Chair, I will be taking the meeting through the fourth quarter performance of the department. I think Mr. Nkosi will be assisting with the flighting of the report. We are going to start on slide 3, where we are reflecting the dashboard summary. If you look at the overall performance of the department, we have achieved 89% of our planned targets for this quarter. Corporate services achieved 100%, financial management achieved 88%, and then overall program 1 achieved 92%. Then we move to program 2, our core service delivery program. Sustainable resource use and management, it's 100%. Agriculture producer supports and development also achieved 100%. Veterinary services in this quarter recorded 71%. Research and technology also achieved all of their indicators. And then agricultural economics, 60%. Structured agricultural training, 67%. And then overall, this program is at 87%. And then for rural development, they were able to achieve 100%. And we were marginally up from what we had reported in Q3, which was 87%. If we move to the next slide, which compares our performance against where we at last year. At this point last year, we were sitting on 84%. And as we are indicating now, we are sitting on 89%. We will also start the report chair in the next slide by indicating the targets that have not been achieved for this particular reporting period. We start with the percentage achievement of departmental budget expenditure. We achieved 93.9%, which meant that there was a 6.1 negative variance. And this is due to the underspending on the agri-hubs as well as on the disaster funding. And then for my colleague, the CFO, will also provide maybe just additional details with respect to our expenditure. Number of veterinary certificates issued for export facilitation. We had planned 653 for the quarter. We achieved 599, which meant that we underachieved by 54. And this is because the majority of our state vets were redeployed to control the FMD and also facilitating the vaccinations. But we wish to assure the committee that the annual target for this indicator had already been achieved. So it was not a case of dropping a ball on the other area while trying to fight fires in the other area. Number of lab tests performed according to the prescribed standards. We also underachieved on this one. And we are also indicating that the brucellosis surveillance activities have been negatively affected due to the increased focus and the resource allocation towards the FMD outbreak. Furthermore, the ongoing maintenance in the lab has resulted to the suspension of some activities. And on the same indicator, we are also indicating that due to prior performance in the first quarters, the annual target has been achieved for this indicator. Number of clients supported with production economic services. There were less requests than our baseline, which we received from farmers for this target in this quarter, but also the annual target has already been achieved. Agribusiness is supported with Black Economic Empowerment Advisory Services. And on this one as well, there was a marginal underachievement, but we also assure the committee that the annual target has been achieved, and the same goes for career awareness activities implemented to promote agriculture. We underachieved by 1, but also we have been able to achieve that target in our annual performance. So that is the consolidated indicators that were not achieved. I will now be going through just the programs as I've indicated. Program 1, there is no concern in terms of its performance. And financial management, we only had a challenge with respect to the expenditure, which details will be provided by the CFO. Program 2, sustainable resource use and management. We are also noting good performance across all of the planned indicators in this area. And we also note agriculture producer support and development also was able to make up for most of the indicators that had not been achieved in the prior quarters. And usually for the department, this is the period where you see quite a lot of activity when it comes to agriculture, because it's also reflecting the work that had been done during the planting season, which is intensively more in Q3 as well as in Q4. So there were no major concerns here. For veterinary services, as we have reported, it was on the vet certificates issued for export, as well as the lab test. And in the main, it's for the reason that we have advanced to say the team that is dealing with the FMD is also the same team that had been dealing with this issue. So we try to prioritize, given the fact that the vaccination arrived at the commencement of this quarter, and we had to really intensify our activities in that regard. Research and technology development, there were no concerns. Agricultural economics, we've indicated the reasons why we have not been able to achieve on those two indicators. The same goes for the career awareness activities as well. In essence, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, that takes us to the conclusion of our fourth quarter. And at this point, the department is now seized with the preparations of our annual performance report, which we are supposed to submit to the Auditor General by the 31st of May. And that is the report that gets to be audited. And then at the end of August, the legislature will then be served with the audited annual report of the department. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members.
Thank you, Chair, honorable members. I would now would like to allow the CFO to take us through on the financial report for quarter four. Thank you.
Good morning to the Honorable Chair and the Honorable Members. The financial report for the fourth quarter, I'll start on slide 3, looking at the departmental revenue, where the department has achieved 100% with a slight over collection of 41,000. In the main, the over collection comes from the sale of capital assets, where we were able to realize 2 million due to higher than expected proceeds in terms of the auctions for our redundant capital assets, even though there was a reduction in terms of what we'd budgeted for, budget versus actual for our sales of goods and services other than capital assets, because of a reduction in the proceeds for our veterinary lab testing, including our housing rental recoveries, because we had transferred some of the state houses to public works as part of infrastructure. If we then move to expenditure by program on the next slide, you will see that program 1 was able to achieve 100%. Program 2 achieved 91.6%, and program 3 achieved 100%. And then sums up to a 93.9% expenditure, where we did have a balance of 176.213 million. In the main, we do have post-adjustment variaments that are reflected on the slide, which was a particularly looking at an increase in program 1 and a reduction in program 2 and program 3. The slight under expenditure on equitable share of 14,000 is then reflecting to our skills development levy because of the difference between our vacant funded project posts, which then resulted in the lower employee costs. Under program 2, the under expenditure then relates primarily to the CASP conditional grant, where the funds are fully committed and we have requested for a rollover to the 26-27 financial year. This is a 31.874 million for disaster relief, which was received during the adjustment estimates. In terms of the grant allocation, these funds must be spent by 31 October 2026. Then we have the funds for the Fresh Produce Agri-Hub, where there have been delays. And in terms of the 10 key contractor, which has been appointed by Richards Bay IDZ, who is our implementing agent, and an amount of 86.4 million has been advanced to the Richards Bay IDZ, of which 9.4 million has been spent, and the rollover request will then include the balance, which is 76.984 million, plus the 58.2 million, which has not yet been paid over to Richards Bay IDZ. We also have an allocation of 9.1 million for laptops for extension service providers for the extension recovery pillar. These were ordered, but unfortunately were only able to be delivered on the 1st of April, which then from a cutoff point, we were not able to execute, but we have subsequently paid for those. Program 3 then is at 100%. The economic classification then of the expenditure on the subsequent slides shows that from current payments, we then have 100% in that line item. Transfers to subsidies, we are then at 90.8%. With those differences in terms of departmental agencies accounts, as well as public corporations, that has then achieved the 78.9. Capital payments then sitting at 65.8% because of the building and fixed structure relating to the Agri-Hub. That's why that line item then was able to achieve 50.8%, and for machinery and equipment, 93.8% was achieved because of the 9 million issue of the laptops. Chair, then in terms of the post-adjustment virements, the virement decrease of 9.6 and a post-adjustment shift of 31.8 in respect of the disaster fund that was appropriated under goods and services as the project had not been finalized during the adjustments. This then was moved to transfers, part of it being in public corporations and private enterprise under the direct funding model. We then also have the 14,000 in terms of the departmental agencies relating to the skills development levy transfer, which I've indicated as one of the reasons before. And then the disaster relief projects, those are being 31.8 million. Under buildings and fixed structures, the under expenditure of 135.184 million is in respect of the fresh produce, and under machinery and equipment, it's then the 9.1 million for the laptops. Chair, then the picture for conditional grants, if we move 2 slides down, the conditional grants then performance for 25-26 is that the CASP grant achieved 55.5%, while Ilima, Landcare, and EPWP were at 100%. Overall grant expenditure is then sitting at 64.7%. The main reasons articulated for the under expenditure in the other slides are then is what has impacted on the performance for the CASP conditional grant. Chair, then we're requesting that then the committee notes the preliminary budget performance report reflecting 100% expenditure and equitable share, 64.7% on conditional grant, with the unspent amount that has been requested for a rollover to the 26-27 financial year as the funds are fully committed. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chair, we are submitting the 2 reports as a Department of Agriculture, non-financial, and the financial report. I will be then guided by the Honorable Chair if we proceed with the ADA or we hand over to the Honorable Chair. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Let's proceed with the ADA, then we'll have a discussion after their presentation.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Greetings to you. Greetings to the honorable members of the legislature. Good morning to the HOD. Good morning to the technocrats present here. Honorable Chair, we are noting your remarks, opening remarks regarding late submissions of other reports, the chopping and changing that will not be acceptable to this committee. I also apologize on behalf of the board this should not happen again. So I will endeavor to see it that we submit reports timelessly, which is obvious that I'll sit on the neck of the CEO, Baba Umfosi, that we do the right thing. Chopping and changing will not be accepted. I don't also accept it. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Shall I request our CEO, Baba Umfosi, to lead, to introduce our presentation? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to you and greetings to the members of the Portfolio Committee, the HOD and the officials. Chair will be presenting the budget performance, which will be done by the CFO, Ms. Ngidi, and the performance report will be done by Lindiwe Mthembu. We'll start with the performance report. Lindiwe.
Greetings, Honorable Chair and Honorable members of the committee, and thank you, CEO. I would like to take you through the Q4 performance reports for ADA. If you can go to the next slide. This is the overall outlook of our fourth quarter performance across our 4 programs. We have for programs 1, 2, and 4 achieved 100% performance against the indicators that were planned for, and with a shortfall of 14% achievement with our program 3, which is enterprise and value development chain. But it must be noted that this can be contextualized in terms of our overall outlook within the financial year, thus at the lack of Q4 performance. Thus, we have an overall performance for our Q4 at 75%, wherein we have achieved 18 of the 24 planned indicators for Q4. As previously remarked, that there is a need to contextualize our performance, wherein we had a front loading of performance within the quarters 1, 2, 3, that came at the expense of how we perform for Q4, and that is all having to do the period in which activities have been completed within previous quarters that comes at the shortfall and shortcomings within Q4. But with looking at the cumulative annual performance, we can see that there is achievements within the various quarters. Thus, we are seeing a 92% overall achievement annually, but this is pre our audit, of which we are going to see better results within our audited performance for all our indicators, which is 26 of them, and at this current moment we have 24 that have been achieved out of the 26. Within our finance and administration program, which is our program 1, we have achieved 100%, wherein we are seeing compliance in respect of our administration, wherein activities pertaining to payments, financial reporting, corporate services that are rendered within the organization, more especially our risk internal audit, as well as marketing and our IT services. We have achieved 100%, paying invoices within 30 days, and submitted all necessary procurement as well as financial plans to the financial treasury. Thus, we are seeing 100% performance in that regard. And to the next slide for program 2. Our program 2 pertains to our comprehensive capacity building, wherein we are training and facilitating skills development for the agribusiness and enterprises that we intervene with, wherein we had training sessions that we facilitated, which is 6 of them. It must be noted to the committee that these trainings were done without finances. This is through partnerships with intergovernmental stakeholders. Thus, we were able to still deliver capacity building for agribusinesses and business management in that regard. We are seeing we exceeded in actual fact about the initiatives that we are assisting enterprises in terms of compliance of their businesses and in that regard. We have also been on par in terms of the individuals that we have trained and the entrepreneurs that we have assisted. We do try to endeavor that we try to not circumvent and keep within, but having that there is no financial bearing by having more persons that attend these trainings, we do not certainly turn away people for the capacity building initiatives that we facilitate. In program 3, we had a slight underperformance in terms of quarter 4, but that is also due to the fact that there was early achievements and implementations within quarters 1 to 3. Thus, we are seeing the actual targets not being met within quarter 4, but rest assured that within our annual cumulative, we have met the annual target and we've in fact exceeded them. And that is applicable within even our demographic enterprises, that is women-owned, youth-owned, and persons with disability. Where we had taken a slight dip in terms of our achievement is the number of new jobs facilitated through the agribusinesses that we have supported. And this underachievement rather, is due to the changes to the pipeline of the implementation. This has thus affected the plan enterprises, but we are still undergoing various verifications as we are within our pre-audit of our annual performance. But at this current moment, it stands that against our plan, new jobs, 89 were achieved. Where we're seeing where we've excelled is that in the sustained jobs, we have exceeded having 104 sustained jobs over the overall 50, and that is due to our Ndingiti estate having sustained over 98 jobs, and also we are counting the projects that we are assisting through agribusiness supports, where they've enabled them to sustain various jobs with the interventions that we are implementing. For program 4, we have 100% achievement wherein the enterprises that were supported with agriculture infrastructure were met and are on par. As it pertains to our infrastructure maintenance plan, we have curated the infrastructure plan for our 26-27, and that is pertaining to our Makatini irrigation scheme. And then in terms of the infrastructure maintenance plan activities for the financial year of 25-26, we have achieved maintaining the roads, attending to water leaks and the pumps and the like, and that is at 100% achievement. Thus, that concludes our performance for quarter 4. Thank you so much.
Chair will be presenting now the budget performance by the CFO.
Goes. Yeah.
Budget performance. Can you go to the top?
Ngithi sifakele leyo kuqala. Hayi lawa amanye.
Can you go to the top, please? Greetings, Chairperson, Honorable members, board, ADA Board Chairperson and colleagues. I'll be presenting the ADA budget performance. And then we actually have under revenue performance. We have revenue from sales, and that one comprises of sale of water by the Makatini operation. We had managed to collect 90%. And the reason is that we had under collection is because in Q4 we experienced heavy rains. As a result, the farmers were unable to pay for the services that we offered to them. And then for sundry income, we had a collection of 109% by end of the year, and the interest. The interest we had collected 94%. Due to that, we had a low positive balance, bank balance kept by the entity, and then for financial transaction in assets and liability, we had 100% collected because of the claim that payout that was paid by insurance. And then for transfers, we had 100%. Under transfers, because we received all the funds that we actually were supposed to receive from DAD. Can you go down? And and then we've got expenditure by program.
No. What's happening, Bamkos? Okay. No, just continue. We'll look at it. Yeah.
Okay. The expenditure by program, we've got under program 1, we actually had spent 100% under this program. And then program 2, also we had spent 100% under this program because of the accruals and the commitments that we have that we're going to be applying for the rollover for. And then program 3 as well, we had spent also 100% under program. Yes, program 3. And then program 4 as well, we also had spent 100% under program 4. And in this program, we've got water and electricity by the Makatini operations and agro processes for banana projects. And we had spent 100%. And then we are going to apply for rollover of the accruals and the commitments by year end. And then we've got expenditure by economic classification. Under this one, we've got capital payments and
under capital payments, we've got compensation of employees. We also had spent 100% under this item. We've got goods and services. We also had spent 100% by year end. And capital assets, we had spent 93% under capital assets. And the next one is project expenditure. We had spent 100% under for project expenditure. And then, as I cited, that we're going to apply for a rollover of 10.2 million by year end. Ngiyabonga.
We are done, HOD.
Yes, Honorable Chair, with the item 2 reports, we are done. Thank you.
Okay, now, honorable members, let's then engage with the 2 presentations. Honorable Sangweni will be the first, followed by Honorable Legend, Honorable Zama, the third. Yeah, in that order.
Yeah, no, thanks, Comrade Chair. Once again, greeting to yourself, Honorable Chair, to honorable members, the department, and of course, all our support team. Honorable Chair, I don't think I'm going to be long. Maybe allow me to start exactly where you started, Chair. I believe that with due respect, you are being too soft, Chair. You know, if the department and the entity submit a report in time, it's not only unacceptable, it is a sabotage of the work of Parliament. It is a sabotage of the work of Parliament because there is scheduling, there is a staff that must make analysis. We must then be able to appraise ourselves because the AG now require a different thing. And Chair, one day we will, luckily the AG will only summon the Chair. We will be in a problem because there is a case study by VET. And I want to take our thinking or my thinking on this matter. That says, before, members of Parliament will only view targets and say you have achieved targeting. And the AG says that is for community itself, a fruitless expenditure. A case study was made with the Department of Social Development where they achieved 80% target. And among other things, they were training young people. And out of 100% of those who were trained, only 15% were absorbed in the market. Meaning, whatever training, while in terms of the reporting by the Department of Social Development was well achieved, but the reality, the impact, the outcome base of that particular work was not effective. So that's where we are. Because sometimes you can achieve and leave 6% only to find out, as others doing, that 6% is on key achievement. And it becomes a fundamental problem. You know, in the economic development, I've told my researchers that don't analyze anything that is not within the target. And then the next thing we'll have to write to the speaker and then question the MEC in the House. Because we can't, Honorable Chair, keep on making the governance of the country is shifting. Oversight is becoming key scrutiny. We don't want to find ourselves in trouble as though we were lenient. We don't equally want to find ourselves harshly unnecessary. But there are issues that we need to resolve and deal with. I thought I should deal with that. Chair, allow me to deal with other few pointers. I'm worried with us having underspending, particularly on CAPS project. They're not controlled by us. There is one HOD I will understand, which we dealt with, the Chair tried to intervene on as it relates to hub there in Richards Bay. That is one is understandable, is the rich. But my view is that let the department try to ensure that we deal with this particular matter, because that is the money that you are not controlling. to argue that you will apply for rollover has its own implication. It can either be approved, not approved, but also it can impede you in getting other grant funding. So it's like shooting yourself in the. I think that's another weakness. Another weakness in your overall analysis is that on financial performance, where you claim to have achieved 100%, that include rollover application, commitment already made, and accruals. And therefore, in my own argument, it might not give us a true picture of 100%. And moving forward, we must say, because for example, the old form of reporting, once you have transfer money to an entity, it would have been, but now the actual work needs to be delivered. And that's where I want us to move at. Ka-8, program 3, CFO. I think you must be closer to whoever was responsible for program 3. It's a weakness of ADA. It has only achieved 14%. It has achieved 6 out of 7 targets were not achieved. For me, you need to zoom closer, particularly because that program, it failed to achieve its chairperson, has an implication on youth, women, and access to market. And as I drive towards the end, Chair, because I don't want to focus more on the department, I want to focus on other. Other is an implementing agent of the state. It is meant to strengthen the state capacity. The president of the country, together with the premier, goes to the state of the nation address. So it becomes our policy statement. And then the premier goes to a provincial state. We commit in strengthening the capacity of the state. But ironically, we then say AMACAP's program, other cannot implement them for whatever reason, the capacity Swabuisak department. The rhetorical question is, do we have capacity in other? If we do have capacity, why is it not assisting the state in implementing those? For me, it's a serious cause for concern, which we need then to look at. Other than that, I believe, Chair, the department continue to achieve. We must commend it, particularly as it relates to the issue employment, which we have been able, vacancy, which we have been able to cap below 10%. In fact, you said you will be around 10, you are less than 3%, which then is good. But we need to zoom close because I don't want to speak about it because it cannot be HOT that every financial year we speak about the fact that Intingwe is not able to reach an evil end. The remainder must be paid for by the state. So, AMA state institution and state implementing agents must reach a point where they do have a capacity, and that capacity will relieve even the department. If they cannot do that, we must then look close into the reason. You cannot always bail out state institution and state agencies. You are hollowing the state. You are destroying the state capacity, and that will be in the advantage of the private sector. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Sangweni. You will be followed by Honorable Richard. After Richard, it will be Honorable Honorable Nzama. After Honorable Nzama, it will be Honorable Mngadi. In that order. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the officials for the report. In terms of, I think it's program 3, the report says that youth-owned enterprise targets were affected by budget constraints and changes in the implementation approach. So I think the question is, how has this impacted on how many youth were supported through these programs due to this? Because I think really we need to look at the outcomes rather than just the inputs. So we might be meeting targets or we might not be meeting targets, but what are the actual jobs and enterprises being supported? And the next one is, what measurable outcomes have come from the enterprise and value chain development? Again, that speaks to my question around how many jobs were created, how many markets were accessed, how many production levels were increased, and how many formal contracts secured. Because that is, I think, one of the core mandates of ADA. And so I don't see these targets really speaking to those outcomes. Then compensation of employees amounted to 65.8 million for a staff complement of just 88 people. So what proportion of staff are actually directly involved in the project implementation and farmer enterprise support versus just the administration of the entity? So are we getting value for money in terms of the compensation of employees? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Richard Nzam.
Thank you, Chair. Greeting colleagues, support staff, department, HOD. Uma kunento engayizwa kahle ngeke ngizwe kahle mengizokhuluma isiZulu. Uyabona nje mhlambe kungabekwa ngesingisi when you put on paper underachieve sounds better. Ngizomtshela nje ukuthi niyahluleka. Asolo sithi nje underachieve nihluleka uprovider umphakathi waKwaZulu-Natal. Simple. Kubekwa ngesingisi kuthiwa roll over for the new financial year. No. Hlulwa nje ukuspend imali. Yanhlula dismal. Fail. You're even failing the youth of KwaZulu-Natal, including the women. Agribusiness, you failed to achieve even the women. Even the disaster money, underachieve. Even black-owned enterprise, niyahluleka. Angikwazi ukwanda kakhulu. Ngize kuDart. Nami ngine-concern ngalo program 3. Ake nithi revisit okwangempela. Ku-program 3 kaDart. I can see that you're very good on collection revenue. We collect so much. Oh, okay, you collect. But you're failing to deliver to the community. What's a wasteful of expenditure? Bambanan, 100% we achieve. And that abattoir is not even running. I say it's non-compliance and everything. It's the same like that. RIBDZ, there's a Richards Bay. Full waste of expenditure, not even a structure. I'm sure you'll got tangible plan about this Richards Bay Agri Hub. Because there's lots of money. In Giamuzo or CFO, we roll over. As I roll over la. Accept local roll over mal because local underachieve. Even this chop and change. When you feel like le mali isasebenzi sesemuvile endaweni ethize, that must end. If you allocate for that program or for that project, ayenziwe phela ingazelo ukuthiwa ene iyamuva because overachieve, where's that money comes from? That revenue iphuma phi? Khona ngale sekushode khona ngenzekanga khona. And what I notice when like it's end of the year, March is where the department start running around and try to move. Ukuze manje ukuthi khaveke laphana ngasho ukuthi ene you didn't meet the target. Anwa meet ama target ngendlela right. Ngizosho nje. I thank you.
Siyabonga umhlonishwa Unzama. Let's move to Honorable Ngadi.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, am I audible? Am I audible, Chair?
Yes, we can hear you,
All right.
Honorable Ngadi.
Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm that. Morning to yourself, Chair, to the honourable members and to the department. Thank you for the reports. Chair, I think I want to maybe start with the issue of the reports themselves. Honourable Sangweni had already lambasted the department, but it's also important, Chair, to recognise that this isn't the first or second or third time this has happened. It happened at Mkhanyawood, it happened in September's committee meeting, it's happening again. And I think what it does is it also undermines our ability to assess whether or not we want to support the budget that funds all these initiatives, because you can't support a budget if the reports that come before you are inaccurate or don't have the accurate numbers to them, because then how do we as politicians, who then have to go back into our communities to account for all of this, say we are in support of items that, you know, we aren't sure the accuracy of. And so it really is disruptive to the work that we have to do as well, and the accountability that we then have to face to communities who then, you know, hold us accountable for the decisions we make here. So I don't think it's right, Chair, that we just give the department a warning. I think they really need to understand the implications of you know, late arrival of these reports or the inaccurate information that sometimes is presented here. And we must also talk to the fact that this isn't the first or second time that there seems to be now a repetitive aspect to this, particularly when it comes to the Department of Agriculture and ADA. So I think that is something that must be noted. And I think we must also take that discussion further than this committee into the chamber to really understand why this is happening, but also get, you know, firm commitments that we won't see this happen again. Because like I said, it is detrimental to the work we're trying to achieve here. That's what I'll say about that, Chair. And just maybe move on to the reports. Been largely covered by Honourable Ajay, because what I had mentioned here is that, you know, the entity specifically, but also key departments are sort of becoming salary distribution points more than, you know, active service delivery models and mechanisms of, you know, enacting service delivery to the people. We see large amounts of money allocated to the administration of these programs, but when we look at the outcomes, they are at very best weak or non-existent. And I think that is a problem in the province that is, you know, widely seen as an agricultural, you know, major center, that the department in and of itself is struggling to roll out comprehensive programs that uplift people in meaningful and sustainable ways. And we only also see this really when we look at what ADA has been doing and the kinds of projects it's been funding and their outputs and success. There's a report that says that they collected a revenue of around 735 Rand in water in Makhathini. How much money have we put into that water scheme for us to get that output in terms of revenue? And we need to then ask the grander questions. We keep putting money into ADA, we keep putting money into these projects, but we seldom see, you know, any returns or valuable returns to this. And it begs the question if this department should continue supporting ADA, or if ADA in and of itself as an entity should exist. Why should we keep putting money into an entity that doesn't have the output that we're looking for as government? As Honourable Sangweni rightfully said, you know, there is a mandate here that we need to uplift and empower our people, and we're seeing that this entity specifically doesn't do this effectively or efficiently, and it's been going on, at least for my time in the 7th administration that I've been here. I haven't seen a positive outlook, and so we must really, excuse me, we must really, Chair, debate that in and of itself, of whether or not ADA in the way that it exists currently is something that we should support and is something that this department should continue putting money into. That said, we haven't really also seen a technical and a detailed analysis of the individual projects that we're funding, we were continuously getting these metrics and these performance reports that tell us that they've achieved so and so targets out of so and so targets, but we aren't really getting to the nitty-gritty of this. So to say, well, in those targets that you claim to have achieved, how effective were they? What is the return on investment that we're getting as government for the rollout of these programs? And until we get that comprehensive analysis, it becomes difficult for us to even stand on podiums and defend the department for the work that it's doing, because we don't really have a grapple on whether or not the projects that the department implements are impactful and have a return on investment that is positive for us as the politicians to be able to then take on, and defend and justify budget allocations continuously. And so this is an issue that we're continuously monitoring, Chairperson, and it is certainly an issue that I think we must bring back to committee and decide on. One, is it valuable for us? And is there a return on investment in other? And should we not reform it or scrap it entirely? And also in the different indices that the department is presenting to us, are they effective in really, providing the change that we're looking for our people? I'll leave it there this morning. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Ngati, Honorable Msimang.
No, Chair, thank you very much. Bengithi angizukuphawula. But I think I must echo the same sentiment that many colleagues have raised. But HOD and your team, colleagues, we are the seasoned officials. You've been, some of you, in this department for many years. And I think you can do better if you got will to do that. Because we're not just criticizing you and attacking you for the sake of that. Because we want to see also a mandate that you have been given, and people outside there, but a service that they deserve. As much as actually given this, this report late, it's unnecessary. But I still mean, Chair, believe you can still do better. It's up to you. Ukuthi niyafisa nokwenza, but I don't think ukuthi iqomqomo zamakhosikazi neyintombi namadoda afana nani iqomqoma bengaba lapha bengasazi isizathu. You see, issue nje ucolleague so ekhuluma ngayo sebhambanana. Honestly, babugumbi ibhambanana yaqala ngo-2012. Then 2016 kwathiwa iphelile. Namhlanje isebenza ibhambanana. But however, ubonile futhi umuntu ukuthi ngo-2025 Business Development Agency injected 6.1 million to revive a project. Why? It's because we want to see that project is a benefit abantu basemkhanyagode nasebhambanana. So that is our interest. So we want to see that place is it's uncalled for, honestly. More count how many years. A lot of delays and but I believe mina chairperson of the board also Babu Lukwanen go uhlangane with your team there. Nino kamakhwapha nani. Because look in thing with a chairperson.
I don't know how many years. If you're sending, but ayikho into namanje ongathi, you know, and honestly, intingwe isemakhaya ngaphansi kwenkosi yakwaKhanyile lapha eNkandla. You know, those women abasebenza laphana, they are only lokhu ngane bakwazi ukuphisa ngayo ingane amasenta bathola. So that is why not we keep on pushing and sibekezele, because if ingavala leyo nto, then what's going to happen kuleya mndeni ongekho ndawo lapha abangaphinde bathole khona. So I'm raising these things because it concerns us. It also concerns abantu abalaphana. I think colleagues, department, you can do better, man. And Tina, we are not here as portfolio committee to just create, but we also are here to help you. Mhlambe lapha ningakwazi ukufinyelela khona and open the doors and be clear to us ukuthi nanga ama-shares asibheka nawo, and then together sibone how can we assist you ukuthi nikwazi ukuvula lo mnyango kahle ukuvula. So I want just to raise those nibe naleyo comment, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, honourable members. I think from my side, I've been covered by members on the issue of CASP, on the issue of agri-hubs, and how you manage the vacancy rate, keeping to your promise that it won't be more than 10%. Yeah, I think I've been covered by members on other areas. There's only one comment, then two issues. You see, I think maybe we'll get the explanation based on my opening remarks. The reports, budget reports, are contradicting each other. Then we are on the issue of art. The DART is explaining that you have spent 100%, but the report of art is talking to 94%. So that's why there was a change, and they gave us another percentage. Again, they changed that, they gave us another percentage because they could see that there were contradictions. If they were honest reports, it was going to talk to each other. Then on the second report, on the second matter, Ada is explaining that the under achievement in some of the targets were based on budgetary constraints. But there are overachievement. There is no explanation that we've got money for those overachievement. On the underspending is because of budget. On overspending, we are not explaining where do you get that money, because we've got budgetary constraints. Those are two areas that I thought I should raise. Adding to what our members, other members have raised. Thank you very much, Shoti.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable members. We really appreciate the guidance that we are receiving from the portfolio committee members with regard to how we should be executing our day-to-day mandate as a Department of Agriculture. I will be responding at a higher level in terms of the achievement and the delays in the targets that we are, as a department, the members have perceived as or are observing as are not, the department is not playing its role that it's supposed to be playing to service the community of KwaZulu-Natal. At a higher level, honorable members, I would like to report that as a sector in the Department of Agriculture, not as a province alone, we are being challenged by external factors which are beyond e-control. And those external factors, partly they also affect the implementation of AMA project in the Department of Agriculture or in the sector at large. One of those issues, you talk of issue of the climate. If we can recall, honorable members, there is a lot of disaster that has been affected the province and the entire sector. And that calls for a shift in our project in our planning. Hence, at some point, you may find that one of the APP has been maybe chop and change, or one of the APP has not been fulfilled in a required time. So those are the areas that also really affect us. So it does not also comes alone with the disaster and also it also comes with the loss of input that has been also allocated to that, specifically the production inputs. Because when you have planted the hectare and you have to go and replant again, you have to provide exactly the input that you've already provided. So hence, sometimes it might be very difficult to explain the nature of the agricultural sector itself as we are facing these challenges. Another challenge that has come at a higher level that has affected drastically the department or the sector of agriculture, it is the issue of also the FMD. The FMD also again, it came and it requires the department to change its own operation as what's planned. And on top of the FMD, we also have the corridor diseases, which is also our day-to-day monitoring. And that calls also for us as a department to allocate resources while we are containing doing a containment of the disease. At the same time, we also have to deal with the corridor disease because the farmers there are drastically affected. And when you compare these two, you will find that the corridor disease is the mostly drastical when it compares to FMD, because this does not show the clinical signs. So with the same pool of officials that have to service the community, they have to diverse strategies on how are they going to manage the two. And then when I also get into the issue of the allocation or the budget delays in terms of us not spending in other areas, I would also highlighted these two at a higher level, and how does it affect our day-to-day operation in the space of agriculture as it has affected the sector. So once all this thing has been declared as a disaster, there are also procedures and processes that we have to follow as a department. Hence, the CFO has reported that part of the 31 million, which was then reported as a rollover, it was received quite late from the national department. And from the request that we provided as a department as a support, as a relief of a disaster, what we were allocated was for infrastructure. So then when you look at the infrastructure replacement in the sector, or for the farmers that were affected, it calls a long of a delay because one, there should be an assessment that has to be done, and there should have been an improvement of that particular infrastructure so that when we replace, we does not also put a weak infrastructure which is going also to be affected by the very same disaster that is going to come again. But with all said, honorable members, I'm not saying the department is on a good side in terms of the performance. Other areas, we really admit that it needs a close an improvement, especially with the team that is on the ground. But at a higher level, those are the things that I would like to submit to the honorable members, that some of the under expenditures and some of the delays are the delays that are really difficult for us as a department to control. With regard to the ADA performance, honorable members, we would like to acknowledge also that the capacity in the ADA is still needed to be improved, and they also need to be capacitated. And it can be also being proven by the report that has been submitted. With some errors, it shows that we needed the competent people who will be able to administer all the duties that's supposed to be administered in the entity. So as a department, we are not ignoring all what the honorable members has guided us. We are taking note of it, and we are going to work on it. Going forward, we are promising and we are committing ourselves as a department together with the entity that there will be improvement, particularly in the areas where the department has control, as our members has already highlighted and indicated. I will then hand over to the operational questions and specific questions to the team, so that they will just report directly to what is required by the honorable members. Thank you.
Good morning to the Honorable Chair and members again. I think technically the HOD has covered the delay in terms of the disaster funding, which was received in December, and the plans then was for the site visits and confirmation. So we do have the plans and we are then executing. We've just also returned to Treasury to say, because of the 31 October deadline, can we start to continue with the projects now while we are waiting for the rollover application processes, and they are looking at that. Honorable Chair, I think on the computers I did indicate that they were received on the 1st of April, so that funding is then now exhausted. Then the other line item that relates to the department, it's on the Agri Hub, which is that for the month of May, we do appreciate the intervention of the committee. Subsequent to the portfolio committee visit, the implementing agent is relatively quicker, even in terms of the responses. We've had 3 subsequent meetings where we're following up on the actual project. And now they are in the stages of preparing to present stage 3 designs, which then we'll see then the earthwork processes then moving forward, probably at the end of May. So that one is then progressing with some of those activities. And I just want to place it on record that it is an issue of moving carefully, so that should anything also go wrong structurally, it is not seen that as the department we then pushed for them to not follow due processes that are aligned to engineering processes, because you can imagine the liability which would then be on the side of the department. But we do appreciate the intervention from the committee in terms of that. Chair, then when it comes to transfers, there is a responsibility that is also placed on the PFMA to the transferring department on ensuring that there are adequate internal controls and due processes to whoever you are transferring to. And in our case, we have transferred the entire revised allocation to ADA, and it was subsequently revised after adjustment estimates, because we did not transfer the funding for CASP to the entity. And those projects were then implemented by the department. This came as a result of an engagement that AG had with the Honorable MEC and the board to say that at the pace of the audit outcomes from the entity and the weaknesses of internal controls which they had identified. They were going to escalate those issues then in saying that the department has not played its part if we were to continue without changing some of the processes. So that was the one change which we did in the 25-26 financial year in looking at the progress, because there was a balance of previously transferred funds that was still with the entity, which they had not yet implemented into actual projects. So we then allowed the entity to conclude the process of implementing previous allocations, which were from U23-24 and U24-25. My balances it was for 2 financial years, so it could be U22-23 as well. So now that the entity has been able to catch up and conclude 2 financial years that was already with them but not executed, and we have assisted to implement to 25-26, the entity is going to be able to then implement its own projects in 26-27. So that again is part of the mechanisms in the department monitoring the entity and also assisting that there is sufficient capacity to execute. Chair, I think from my side, that's where I will request to end. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On behalf of ADA, the criticism that are leveled at us, we do appreciate them, Honorable Member of the Legislature, because we believe these are constructive criticism. You want us to Thank you, Honorable Chair. So we do appreciate those criticism. We might have faltered on Program 3, but I must accept it. We did falter on Program 3. We'll critically look at Program 3 together with the board members and staff and the department, in conjunction with the department. We'll do look at Program 3, mostly the CAS projects. As the CFO of the department has correctly elucidated to that fact, what happened that we ended up with the projects being implemented by the department. It was a mutual agreement between the entity and the department. As for the question of is there still value for money in the government putting money into ADA? I also have that question there, Honorable Chair. I think I need to call upon the board members and all of and the department that we reflect into that. Honorable Chair, I must also assure the honorable members here that as for the catalytic projects, as we gathered here at Bamanana, Honorable Msimang, I passed there yesterday. There's work going on there. If you could go there, you could see that there's some work going on there at Bamanana Abacho. So that Abacho is definitely going to open now. It's about, we agreed on about 1.5 years from now, it will start operating. Honorable Chair, and as for the other catalytic project, the Makachini irrigation scheme, where we have about 4,500 hectares of land, we should be under irrigation. I can assure you, some work is going on there. Farmers are getting water now. So you must rest assured that where we cater for about 400 farmers, that is the report that I got from Makachini. So there's some work going on at Makachini. There's something that we're doing there. And for Ntingwe, we are also doing something for Ntingwe. We are very hopeful that not long from now, you'll receive a positive report from Ntingwe. Shall I allow the other officials to respond to the other questions. Thank you very much, Chair.
It passes to Ubabumfusi. Angazi noma ubaba uGombo yazizwa uthini in this meeting. Mighty kusho usihlalo. Uthi yena akazi noma ku-right yini ukuthi we must continue put money in that. Angazi ukuthi usho ukuthini masho njalo. Because angazi mangimuzwa ngathi mhlawumbe animzwanga nini. Phela ngifuna ukuzwa ukuthi animzwanga ngani ukuze ngiqhubeke.
Simzila.
So because honestly
uthi le committee I recommend to evaluate i-ADA.
And yeah, and at the same time uthi nazi izinto ezinye zenza, but really if you mean that you must say so, but if you must withdraw that statement.
Honorable Chair, I might have been misunderstood. So, Honorable Chair, shall I withdraw it? As the honorable member is requesting, because I was just, in fact, I don't want to further explain. I said the concern raised by honorable.
You see, once that you withdraw, but of no cause, could withdraw.
Honorable Chair, shall I withdraw it? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. I think many things have been covered by the HOD, no Chair, but I just want to zoom into specifics into these projects that we are talking about so that the committee understand where we are. Let me start with Bambanana. If the member remembers very well that you gave us a mandate to revive Bambanana. So what we have done up to so far, there is a contractor that is on site that is actually resuscitating, revamping the infrastructure together with the line that moves the cattle there. And also there is a plan of actually changing that abattoir to be an abattoir, the only few abattoirs in the country that will be slaughtering cattle that are FMD affected. So there is that move. Secondly, what we have done now, because we are working with the department as ADA, we have appointed service provider to develop a business case which will be a framework of running that abattoir as a business. But we are also putting social facilitation. And then once the infrastructure, social facilitation, and the business case have been done, the last part will be then to appoint an operator that will then be operating the abattoir, working with the local stakeholders. I think there was a question, CFO has answered it, that was asked by Honorable Ndebele on the capacity of ADA as well.
That's correct, that is now Honorable Sangweni.
Honorable?
Sangweni. It's no longer Ndebele.
Oh, no, sorry. See, uzongixolela kuzothatha isikhathi. Chair, we can assure you, because we had quite a lot of problems in the ADA. Program 3, it's a core business of ADA, and the wheels have been falling out. And the assistance of the department in taking and implementing the projects, we really appreciate it. I can assure you now, going forward, that we are actually ready to implement for 2026-27. So, yeah.
Do you have capacity now?
We have capacity, but it was not only the capacity issue, it was the systems issue and processes that were not in place. So we have put that in place. So I can assure you we'll be moving. Ntingwe, Honorable Sangwen.
Let's leave it in because we're still going to get a report.
Okay. No, that's fine, Chair. I will just hand over to my colleagues to deal with some of the issues that have been raised.
Thank you, CEO. Because it's a question that has come up on numerous occasions, I'd like to point to a specific point on our narrative reports that speaks about the reason for the 14% achievement. Within the context of Ukota 4, those that were planned for Ukota 4 ended up being concluded in quarters 1 to 3. So it is very necessary to contextualize Ukoti. Other aspects of projects were finished early versus late, and that was due to
No.
Chair.
Okay. Yes.
No, Chair, even that reasoning in terms of governance is wrong. It demonstrates an institution that is not able to plan quarterly. It bottlenecks the state because there is a reason why there's quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And there's a reason they should be synergy towards e-government because they should be a coordinated way and the implementation. So if you say, Mina, I've planned for quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 4, but achieve everything in quarter 1, there was no planning at all.
No, we are cutting you because initially we have gone past that debate. Your understanding was that to say if you are going to target for the whole year, maybe you are saying it's a 4 target. You will put it 4 for each quarter, but you are talking about the overall of one of the whole year. We said it's incorrect to present targets like that. We thought we have gone through that with the ADA. So you can't bring that discussion again.
No, thanks, Chair. We understand it. Yeah.
Let's just cut you down. They'll brief you because maybe it's the first time to deal with these things here. But stick to what we have asked you to present. Present in the manner that we have requested you to present. I'm not sure whether we're done. We're done. So
We are, Honorable Chair, we are done.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think you have noted our concerns. Go and work on those concerns so that we address them. Let's then move to the next item, which is item 4, update on. We'll take item 4 and item 3 and item 4 together. Then we'll have a discussion after that.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, for the item 3 and item 4, it will be led by UCD Kabazela Mkhize on the update report on ADA rationalization. And for the item 4, the report on Sitole enrollment numbers, it will be taken by Director Umtunu, who is the director for the institutional colleges of the department. Thank you.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, greetings once again. I will be taking the committee through the report, which is where we're seeking to apprise the portfolio committee on the progress regarding the amalgamations of DART entities. If the committee, we can take the next slide, can just allow me a brief background so that we all have a full understanding on where we're coming from with this amalgamation process. In essence, the amalgamation is a project of government where all institutions of state were really directed by National Treasury to review its entities, in particular those that have entities in light of the fiscal position of government. So the directive was to look at the size and the cost of these entities, and also to see if entities with almost similar mandates cannot then be grouped together, so that, as Honorable Sangweni was alluding to, it gives effect to the capacitation of the state, so that you have a state that is more capable, more agile. In the province, then that process was subsequently driven by the MEC for Finance, who brought together a technical task team that had OTP, it had ETIA, and then naturally it had DART, because we also had entities. And the mandate was to study and analyze the reason for the existence of these entities. And that task team was referred to as ROPET, Rationalization of Public Entities Task Team. So the project started in 2017, and it went to the level of cabinet. A team of experts, TGR attorneys, was appointed to facilitate the implementation. In terms of this team, it was constituted multidisciplinary. There was an HR side, there was legal, there was agricultural related issues, and then there was financial and accounting services. And then at the DART level, it was reporting to a steering committee that had representatives from both the department as well as the entities. By end of 2019, there was notice that there was little or no progress really that had been achieved, and the department then appointed a joint management committee, which was also going to augment the work that had been started by this particular team. And this committee was constituted into work streams. So there was a legal service work stream, the human resource work stream, the finance work stream, the ICT work stream, and then a turnaround work stream for Ndingwe, as well as a turnaround work stream for Umjindi. If we refer back to the resolution of the cabinet, specifically to the entities now for DART, with Umjindi farming, the directive was clear that Umjindi farming needed to be closed down and the mandated functions needed to be transferred to ADA. So that was a directive for Umjindi. For Ndingwe, cabinet resolved that all shares still held by IDFC, so that would be Itala, and DART in Ndingwe also needed to be transferred to ADA. For Natal Trust Farms, Cabinet resolved that after the investigation of the status and the value of the assets remaining within the entity, it be wind up and delisted. Mpendle Ntambanana Agricultural Company, the Provincial Executive Council resolved that DART submit a letter to National Treasury confirming that the entity is no longer active, does not receive any funding from government, and there are no assets and liabilities reflected in the balance sheet of the entity. And then with respect to ADA, the position of Provincial Cabinet was that ADA should remain as a standalone entity, underpinned by an enabling legislation and governed by a suitable governance structure to focus on assisting emerging farmers and commercialization within the agricultural sector. So maybe just to give a summary, in terms of what the Executive Council was really directing here, was that that department should remain with one entity, which is essentially Agribusiness Development Agency, and all the other entities that are associated with agriculture, they either be wind up or they are incorporated into the reconfigured ADA. Because what was going to be then important was that we then develop a legislation that then gives creation to this a new entity. But in essence, it was directing the department to only have one public entity, and everything else that is agricultural be housed under that entity. What has then happened subsequent to that? If we look at the progress, Umjindi farming, essentially its operations have been folded, and now it is part of ADA for all intents and purposes. So Umjindi no longer exists as a public entity. Ndingwe Tea Estate, The matter is still unresolved because of the challenges between DART as well as Itala IDFC regarding the investment on the shares of Ndingwe. Natal Trust Farms, the Natal Trust Farm operations have been transferred to ADA. There were attempts to have the entity reconfigured as KZN Farming Enterprise, and this did not materialize due to the administrative challenges. So we will share more details on Natal Trust Farms. Mpendle Ntambanana, I think this one, the entity has been delisted from the PFMA schedules as a Schedule 3 provincial government business enterprise. So I think that one is clear. It has been resolved. Agribusiness Development Agency, the entity still exists. ADA bill has been drafted, but what the process requires is that it actually needs a business case to be finalized before it is then submitted to the legislature for processing. And the department is therefore seized with a process of appointing a service provider who will then conduct the business case for ADA. But I think it's only fair that we report to the committee that, in essence, the appointment of that service provider to finalize the business case will then kick into action all of the other outstanding activities that are supposed to happen before we have a reconstituted ADA and all the other entities of DART are formally incorporated into the new entity. We will then be taking the committee further, where we are now discussing in detail each of these Natal Trust Farms. There is a history that is being provided there in terms of what Natal Trust Farm is about, how it came to be. But I think the most important aspect was that at the time when the cabinet made that resolution, it was basically to say you have this entity in your books, but is it still existing, and then is there still value in keeping this particular entity? And in essence, we were directed that we investigate the status and the value of the assets that are remaining within the entity. And the directive was clear that once you have done that, you wind it up and then you delist. In the next slide, we are reflecting that in 2024, the department approached the Executive Council with a request to rescind the previous resolution that directed for the entity to be closed down and delisted. So in this case, the department saw an opportunity that Natal Trust Farm, if you look at its a legal status, it could have been repurposed, and the idea was that it should become KZN Farming Enterprise as a state-owned company, and this was endorsed by Cabinet in 2024. Now, with the idea that the department had for KZN Farming Enterprise, SOC, was that it will drive the agricultural industrialization through the agri-hubs. It will also drive the commercial mechanization, and it will also drive the acquisition of state-owned model farms. So this decision is also a reflection of the department essentially engaging with the challenge in terms of how can we improve the issue of driving agricultural development in the province. And to give effect to this decision, the department then seconded an interim CEO together with 7 officials to KZN Farming Enterprise. And their mandate was essentially to set up the enterprise systems for the operations to then kick in. But in the next slide, we are then going to see that that decision, the department had to reverse it because of the advice that it received from both national and provincial treasury, which essentially advised the department that Natal Trust Farm had been delisted as a PFMA entity in 2003 by National Treasury. And if the department wanted to utilize it, the department needed to comply with Section 38(1) of the PFMA, which meant that National Treasury had to give authority to the new entity being now listed again. and the department was further required to provide a detailed business plan reflecting the new mandate of the entity, which is approved by Cabinet as well as asset cluster. And in the meantime, the department was directed by Cabinet to hold KZN FE and redirect its operations to ADA. So in essence, our attempt to resuscitate Natal Trust Farm and develop a new entity that was going to assist the department did not succeed. And we now have a directive that everything that was associated with KZN FE and essentially Natal Trust Farms goes back to the original resolution, which is take the operations to ADA up until you finalize a business case. And as I've reported, we are then busy with that business case at the moment. If we move to the next slide, we are then going to see that there was a framework that was already developed by the JMC for the business case. And if you look at the complexity of the matters, we then realized that it's not something that can be done internally by the department. And we approached GTEC, which is a National Treasury entity, and they also consulted the National Treasury and the KZN Provincial Treasury, and they advised that the establishment of a 3D schedule entity is not feasible at this stage, as the issue of the current mandate is still not resolved. So that's one. And then if we move to the next slide, then it talks to the ADA bill, and we can indicate that the ADA bill, the drafting of the bill has been developed, and it has been sent to the state law advisor. This was in April 2024. After the review of the bill, they advised that they will not finalize the certification of the bill until the business case for ADA, which will determine the classification in terms of the PFMA, that is now the scheduling of ADA, whether it qualifies to be a 3D or it retains its current scheduling, is finalized. And then, in light of the concerns raised by GTEC, the department has had to wait the final outcome on the mandate of the entity before it finalizes the bill. So again, in essence, the whole process is now contingent upon the bill being finalized. And Ndingoti, we're also giving just a history of Ndingoti, which is to say, initially, IDFC made funding available to Ndingwe Farming, which was an interest-free equity loan in the amount of 24,950,000 as the purchase price for Ndingwe. The erstwhile Department of Agriculture and Environmental Affairs then committed a further amount of 40 million to the funding of Ndingwe. So that's how the project came to being. In terms of this agreement, there was also a further commitment that that IDFC would consider increasing its investment by another 4 million. And the directive then of Cabinet through ROPET, it recommended that Ndingwe Tea shares owned by DART and its allied DFC be transferred to ADA. And the Cabinet also took a decision to assess the feasibility of Ndingwe Tea estate. So this is what DART has done to comply with that executive decision. We embarked on the process of streamlining the commercial efficiency of Ndingwe Tea, and it has been the intention of DART that upon the transfer of Ndingwe Tea shares, that ADA would then continue to carry out the Ndingwe Tea functions. And a turnaround strategy has been developed to make the entity to be self-sustainable. And at the moment, ADA has been mandated to manage Ndingwe Tea as a project whilst the amalgamation process is ongoing. With respect to the issue of the shares, there's been numerous engagements with IDFC in an attempt to initiate the winding up and closure of Ndingwe, but there has been delays, and the position of IDFC board, it resolved that the board supported the transfer of the 38% of the shares of Ndingwe to DART ADA as recommended by Cabinet, subject to the recovery of approximately 65 million investment made by IDFC. I think that has been the issue. And then in the next slide, we are then reporting that there has been engagements now between the heads of departments of economic development, tourism and environmental affairs, DART, the CEO of IDFC, and other management colleagues to iron out this issue. To date, Ntingwe is functioning without a board, as IDFC has not been cooperative in nominating the representatives of IDFC on the board. And there is now a contravention in terms of the Companies Act. And then Ntingwe T's bank account has been suspended by its banker, and all the monies that it receives are therefore being deposited into a bank account operated by ADA. And Ntingwe has not produced audited financial statements, nor it has submitted annual tax returns to SARS for almost over a decade now. In terms of those financial statements of 2016, it is evident that Ntingwe is trading in insolvent circumstances. And IDFC has stopped funding Ntingwe and has to cover its financial obligations due to the fact that it is running the business at the loss. And we are then having basically those issues. And there has been discussions, even to a point that DART has communicated to IDFC that they are even prepared to seek the court's intervention as the company is allowed to trade in insolvent circumstance. Should the entity be liquidated, the operations of Ntingwe could continue as a project under the auspices of AIDA and not in the form of the company, which places strict legal requirements in terms of the laws. So in essence, if I can just summarize, the issue now is basically, should the department pay the 65 million to Ital for the shares of Ntingwe? I think that is essentially, that's where the crux of the issue is, because cabinet resolution says the shares should be transferred to DART for ADA, so that Ntingwe T becomes part of ADA. And IDFC board said they are prepared to release the shares upon recovering those amounts. And then in the intervening period, HODs and the CEOs have been engaging to say, whilst we have this impasse, can IDFC nominate members to form part of their board, so that at least there is a board that is overseeing Ntingwe whilst all of these matters are receiving attention. So unfortunately, I think the two departments have not then been able to find each other on this item, and the matter remains pending. Mpendle Ntambanana, cabinet resolution had directed that the outstanding issues relating to the company be finalized. So according to the CIPC register, the deregistration of the company as a juristic entity took effect in 2016. Deed search has confirmed that there are no immovable assets registered in the name of the company. So for all intents and purposes, the entity has been delisted from the PFMA schedules. In terms of the way forward, the department is busy with the development of the other business case, like I reported, which will determine the PFMA schedule for the entity and will formalize its oversight over Ntingwe T Estate and Natal Trust Farms. AIDA operates as a standalone entity, is fully effective with a properly constituted board as well as the management team. AIDA has incorporated Umjindi activities and will develop appropriate corporate structure once the business case is finalized. And Ntingwe T is currently being managed as a project within AIDA until all outstanding legal matters are finalized. Honorable Chair and honorable members, that then concludes the progress report on the issue of the amalgamation. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Kabazel. Then let's quickly move to the item 4. You'll just summarize. The time is against us now. Thank you.
Greetings, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, the HOD, other Chair, the Board Chairperson and the CEO and Team DART. Thank you for this opportunity. We're here to present a report on the current and projected learner enrollment numbers at Inkosi Owen Sithole College of Agriculture. The presentation outline is as tabled, Chair and members. We will then move to the purpose. The purpose of this presentation is to apprise the departmental portfolio committee in accordance with its request on learner enrollment figures at OSCA for the 2026 academic year. We want to share briefly on the college objectives that the main mandate of OSCA is to manage agricultural education and training from NQF level 1 to 7, to manage agricultural training to farmers and other stakeholders, providing accredited short courses and also the non-accredited, and also conduct the community outreach programs. It also ensures the provision of library services, ensures quality assurance, and manage farm and workshop facilities. We are then on this slide sharing the current student enrollment profiles. The first one, it just depicts the academic band, then it would be a level, the learners, and the current status. On the higher education and training, there are 3 levels because it's a diploma, it's year 1, year 2, and year 3. For first year students, it's the total number of students is 41, and they are on campus. On second years, the total number of learners or students, it's 92. We want to highlight further that 81 is residing and catered for in the campus, and the 11 is residing off campus and is self-catering. I can further say that at the 11, you will find that it's those students that have got one subject that is outstanding, and it would not have been cost effective for them to be at the premises full time. The third year students, they are 47. They are placed on farms for the work integrated learning placement. All of them, all the 47 around the province and in other provinces as well. Then we come to the agricultural skills development. Short in brief, it's ASD. On campus, we've got 40 for now. And we also have got those that are on their work integrated learning placement, which is a total of 20. On this slide, Chair and members, we want to indicate that the total number of students that is catered for is 162, because it's the 41, the 81, and the 40 for the ASD. The 47 is not at the college. The 20 is also not at the college. But if we're looking at the total number of students that we have at OSCA that we interact with, whether on campus or in farms, it's 240. On the next slide, we speak on the projected learner numbers on the higher education and training, meaning it's those ones that are doing the diploma. HET registration operates on a semester basis. Students register in January and again during the July second semester cycle. Historically, only minor fluctuations occur between semesters. Approximately 5 additional students may register during the second semester, and again, approximately 3 may be affected by progression requirements. Overall, in HET, learner or student numbers are projected to remain stable at approximately 180. We are reflecting on that particular slide because it also has implications on on the number of students that are being catered for at the college. Projections on the agricultural skills development. Current ASD profile consists of 40 campus-based learners and 20 learners on wheel placement, as indicated previously. We want to further indicate that around October, the campus-based learners are expected to move to the wheel placement. Remember, it's the 40 now. They are going out on farms. Learners currently on wheel are expected to return to the campus. There is that switch in the ASD. So the 40 that we have currently will leave the college, and then the 20 will come back for a month or so to complete their assessment and the program as well. So numbers for catering will then be affected, reduced by 20, because 40 years went away, and then has gone to the farms, and then we are left with 20. The location of learners will change, but the total ASD learner population is expected to remain stable. We're also projecting that ASD learner population remains approximately at 60. That next slide indicates a summary of student enrollment on HET and also ASD, with the total number being at 40. Some key observations that are made is that the majority of learners are enrolled under the HET, which is a diploma in agriculture. The work integrated learning remains an integral component of both HET and ASD programs. The learner movement between campuses and workplace learning forms part of a normal academic cycle. The institution continues to monitor learner enrollment, accommodation, student support, and will coordination. Apologies. We want to conclude by saying, Honorable Chairperson and members, that the current learner population stands at 240 learners. The learner numbers are expected to remain relatively stable over the next 6 months. Minor fluctuations, as indicated, may occur due to semester registration and academic progression outcomes. Oscar remains operationally prepared to support the projected learner population. We also want to recommend that the departmental portfolio committee takes note of the current learner enrollment figures at Inkosi Owen Sithole College of Agriculture for the 2026 academic year. Thank you, Chairperson and members.
No, thank you very much. Honorable members, I want to suggest as follows. On the first presentation on the issue of the rationalization, there are so many issues there. I don't think we will be doing justice if we were to engage with that report now. Let's try and get another slot. If we can't, in our next meeting, we'll engage with the report. There are so many issues that need us to engage with. So if we can engage, if we agree to that one, then we can engage with this shorter report. We'll start with Honorable Mngadi, followed by Honorable Sangweni, then followed by Honorable Nzama.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I think the issues, even though the second reports were shorter, there's still issues there, and I'm not sure time does permit. I do accept your proposal, so I'm actually going to second that we maybe move the discussions of the rationalization report to another meeting where we can sufficiently engage on those issues. But with regards to the reports around Dingwe and a lot of other things that have just been mentioned, I think it just paints the picture that I raised earlier to say that, we really do need a session as this committee to really interrogate the work of the entity, the projects they invest in, and whether we're getting return on investment as government, and to maybe politicize this issue in part. As members of the GPU in this province, iyashaya lento, iyaslimaza, and mesiya emphakathini abantu bafuna ukuzwa ukuthi njengohulumeni kunemali njengo-24 million eyitshaliwe kwi-project ethize, bafuna ukubona imphumelelo yalezi zinto lezi sithi siyazenza, and ngokwama-report lawa ngaphambi kwethu namhlanje kuyabonakala futhi kuyacaca ukuthi umsebenzi is lacking. Nanokuthi futhi i-direction eyaphambili, I'm not too convinced ukuthi ikhona. So I accept your proposal, Chairperson, of future discussions, particularly around these reports. But I just maybe on record for this meeting to say it's a bit disappointing to see, especially so much money. I mean, 24 million owanikwa IDF ban. You can just imagine ukuthi ungasiza abantu abangakanani abazamayo ukuthi bakhulise amaplaza abo nezinto eziningi abayidingayo. To see that money really essentially wasted is heartbreaking. But just to also emphasize what as i-GPU iyaslimaza ke because ama resources akhona, but implementing agent yethu esisenza la phansi. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga, bese ngithi uzozongene kuyona impela. Yes, Honorable Sangweni.
No, Chair, thanks. But I would have said maybe on both reports our boy, but avoiding rationalization might take time, but there are bottlenecks that are not necessary. Mhlambe kuloko sihlalo the chairperson waka agriculture and economic development might outside this meeting think of a discussion. I don't know whether mandated by this committee, discussion of a joint committee meeting, because good thing, one of the bottleneck into Yama State Sisoto, Department of Agriculture, Noga Eita, Sisoto, and if we can have a joint portfolios bizo MEC, ayakangama icabangelo nemali kulimaza. I think they go partly. Then nale SBL report, Chair, remember SBL singasikritset, but sayicela as a result of principal ehluleka usitshela ukuthi bangakhi abafunda abadlayo bavela ku-81, but now isiyadinga amafika nokuthi that college, is it fully being utilized? Maybe kuzoba i-discussion esizoba nayo bengingathi mina omabili lama-report, because kumele kungene enye committee asika-adopte ama-minute. Let us flag them and then we'll come back to them. But with that right, maybe we will need a discussion if mandated by this committee outside this for a purpose of a joint meeting.
Okay, Honorable Nzama.
Thank you, Chair. No, I agree with Honorable Sangweni, because there's another committee need to come. But few, I just need to check with this Owen Sitole college. Ukuthi, do you prioritize student with disability? How many? But I think that one maybe is for the next time. And then
Chair.
oh,
Chair.
Sasengivala. Wow, my
Umhlonishwa uNzama. Just I'm raising a point. Umhlonishwa uNzama uthe uvumelana nomhlonishwa uSangweni. Now asikwazi ukuyixoxa ke sebevumelene was proposed and seconded. So sesixoxa kokuzayo.
Order members. Let's agree that we will discuss both reports But HOD, because when is your account? Even now, we are not told ukuthi if uzothiwa owenstolo service provider you are prepare kuyiphi number kuthiwa kuyafluctuate. No, I think maseniza kwesibili you must be clear ukuthi kule nyanga zobe zingaki ngani kungabi umuntu prepare mase to submit invoice yakhe qale kubangwe ilokhozana. Ilo nto eyenzekayo, and it has been happening for the whole year. It means khona umuntu ongakwazi ukumanage. You can't have a dispute eloki khona for the whole year. Each time kuzosubmitwa ama invoice qala ukubanga ilokhozana. Sekuprepareile, sekuphekiwe, sespendile that person usezobangwa ilokhozana invoice mase kufanele kukhokhe invoice. I think sizoyibeka kwena. Asishiye kanjalo ama members sivumelane. Honorable members mhlambe ngihlale sengiyenze nje. Even the committee matters we see sizibambe, we will deal with them with lot esilandela. Because so that singawazi ukuthi so that sotatele committee landelayo. Sibonga kakhulu HOD and their team, chairperson of the board and their team. Ukusebenza njalo kuzoba khona la thintona khona, but umsebenzi nani na account anathi sa account kufanele understand na kanjalo. Ngisabonga kakhulu.